Welcome back to the Morning Skate Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to go over a normal size Tuesday slate. Feels like every night has either been 14 games or one. But Matt, we're back with just 7 games, a little more time to go game by game. How are you doing on this
Yeah,
Tuesday?
I'm very much looking forward to finding a way to make this an hour and 10 minutes, as we always do. So, yeah, that's my main excitement for this upcoming Tuesday slate. But yeah, this week is a lot of fun. We've got, I think, 4, maybe 5 consecutive really good slates between Monday and Friday. Well, obviously Saturday too, so just call it 6 really good slates in a row of not just 2 games. So going to be nice to get into a little bit of a rhythm here. So yeah, let's see how it goes though.
Yeah, might as well just I don't even know. Like I feel like there's a lot to cover that happened over the weekend, and also we could probably get to most of it just by going game by game, and we're gonna go, like they're all at 7. I guess that was the one thing I wanted to like. The one caveat to this slate being good is that 5 of 7 games start at 7 o'clock. That was one thing I had written down, and then
Yep.
I'm already ready to lose more money on Cutter Gauthier. So I'm sure there'll be your normal tilting involved with this. That will definitely get us to that hour mark. But I was just trying to tweet out that we're live because we are live on YouTube. If you're listening to this in podcast form and you ever want to join in, we normally record between like 8:30 and 9 on Monday and Wednesday nights to get ready for the following day. So, yeah, I don't really know if I have anything crazy. Weekend was pretty whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just get into the slate.
I had some pretty horrifying losses. I'm in the sports betting space. I'm just trying to take advantage of the boost that we get, and I used that college football one, and I had 3 or 4 legs down, and all I needed was a team that was -7 and up 23-3 at halftime to cover their game, and they wound up blowing it, including a 4th down conversion where the defender tipped the ball. The offensive player trying to catch the pass bicycle kicked it over his head, and another receiver on his team caught it toe tapping to the sideline, which then they immediately scored a touchdown in the next play. And yes, that is what I get for apparently finding an edge on Arkansas State and Troy, who apparently have football teams. But I was literally just, on unabated, looking at the odds and seeing like, okay, where's DraftKings have the best line relative to the other books? And so, sucked to miss out on, I think it was like a 25-1 on 4 legs with the boost. Just another painful way to really start off this NHL here, but not getting a Cutter McTavish Terry point last night when Cutter hits a post with like 4 minutes left on an absolute gorgeous feed for that full line stack. It was like plus 700. So, really close, but just can't get it together so far. And it's getting painful. So
that has been the tiltiest tilting of all my tilting. It's literally watching a team score like 3 goals at 5-on-5, having that full line for just 1 point, and then one guy just never getting involved. And sometimes it's not even the guy that like again, Tom Wilson, we could talk about that one, whatever. He's Tom Wilson, but like Alex Tuck was like really, really good. I think that was Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday against Detroit. Had a breakaway, was out there for all the goals, just didn't touch the puck. And it's not like he's not a guy that it hasn't been producing offensively. So whatever. We can move past the tilting, get to another slate where hopefully we won't be tilting. Bets are okay to start Monday. Just Bouchard, I thought, scored on the power play, and somehow Merzlikins, right? With the Tarasov. I can't remember now.
No, it's Elvis.
It's all, yeah, just stuck out his pad, and just, I was like, oh, okay, great. That's not going to happen either. Great.
He also rang a crossbar pretty early on.
He did hit the crossbar. Yep.
Yeah.
He has like 100 shots, and he's just never going to get a point at all because the Oilers are nothing without McDavid. But Oilers aren't on this slate, so we can just move on. Anything else before we get into the 7 games of action?
I don't think so. The contest lobby is pretty normal. Nothing overly special in the lobby, so that's that. I'm not sure. I don't see a qualifier, but maybe I'm just missing it, which kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe you care, maybe you don't. But yeah, the only real intriguing thing about the slate is, like you said, there's 5 7 o'clock starts. Rangers Washington is 7:30, so pretty much that game will be over. And then Kings at San Jose. San Jose on a back-to-back, leaving Utah on Monday night. So that's gonna be a pretty popular spot, I would imagine. So be mindful of that. Obviously, there will be an opportunity to swap if you need to, pivot off of LA or something to try and catch up to them in cash line or something, or take down a tournament. I'm not here trying to tell you how your night's going to go, but just be mindful of that, because obviously LA is going to come in with pretty high ownership, and it may be worth the late pivot just because we'll know almost all the information heading into the Sharks game.
Yeah, 5 games at 7, 1 at 7:30, and then 1 at 10. So not my favorite way for them to divvy up the schedule, but it is what it is. The first game of the night, per going through the DraftKings.
I ordered it properly this time.
Good is Philadelphia at the Boston Bruins. Bruins.
Sorry, one more thing I should note, because some people only listen to the podcast. Obviously a lot of people have joined the Discord, but today was the first day that I broke out the sheet for the season. So just, maybe I can zoom in a little bit, but basically I post this in the Discord every day, just every matchup, with some stats included. So, obviously there's a write-up in the Discord of sort of how to read this and what they mean. But if there's anything confusing, just let me know. But that is in the Discord. I'll post it pretty much every day. Also, alongside that, we mentioned expected fantasy points a lot. I summarized the top players on the slate, ignore some of the broken macro stuff that I have, like Sean MTL Ahan, because, Mon needs to be traded to MTL. As far as the macro is concerned, it just caught the wrong columns, whatever. Just kind of funny. So yeah, I post this in the Discord every day. So make sure you get in there. If you want to get in there, I'm at Fake Moods. Just send me a DM. I'll shoot you a link. It's super easy. I just can't tweet the link because, Elon lets his porn bots in and they try and tell us to buy crypto and to play sports bets and things like that we don't want to do.
No idea that there was porn on the internet till right now. Okay. Well, that was my first learning of it. And we can move past crypto.
Here's a question, DJ.
Tough swing in the betting.
Do you prefer this layout to this? I kind of like this because it zooms in a little bit more.
Yeah, that's better.
Because it fits here. So anyway, and of course on the YouTube feed, there's a visual just of each team's lineup, updated as of 8 p.m. on Monday. I went through each team to find what we have. And so it's displayed visually if you're that sort of person, with their DK salary, their lines, their power play units, and some stats. Just context for what we're discussing. So that's all we're doing over on YouTube. All right, DJ, where are you at Boston, with Philly at Boston?
Yep, Boston is a massive favorite, minus 198 at home. 4 of the 6 games are 6 over-unders, which are basically like the exact minus 110 or minus 105, minus 115. This is one of them at minus 110 either side. So biggest underdog of the night outside of obviously San Jose, which we already pointed out, is going to be the Flyers. They've been pesky. They've found ways to score. They have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. I did find it funny that they were mentioning in the game on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, I think it was Sunday. I was watching that. Even with bringing in like 2 new 22-year-olds into the roster, the team actually got older. As far as like the starting roster, like they're that young that obviously Jet going to back to his junior team was part of that, but like it's an incredibly young team against this incredibly old veteran team. The books don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but they definitely lean Boston pretty heavily. What are you seeing on the Philly side that might interest you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Maybe not much. Like maybe it's just Montreal and on the road but Michkov and Konechny being 30% on yesterday's 4-game slate was pretty jarring. So maybe the field is just onto it. Maybe that's just strictly a Montreal thing. I don't know. I'll need to reconsider that with some more ownership information tomorrow. But like what we're seeing from Michkov is clearly that he has the sort of ceiling, I think, to elevate a team, but that he might not be the person who's going to do it all himself, a la like a Connor Bedard or something of that ilk. And so I'm just a little bit worried about going into a Boston team that is loading up their top line with Lindholm, Pastrnak, Zacha. Maybe they're just ass. I don't know. Like they have terrible numbers to start the year. The Boston team as a whole does too. And like Lindholm and Pasta might just not work. But it's a little bit like, do I really want to put this cart in front of that horse for a 5,400 Michkov and pretty expensive Konechny at 6,300 in a spot where I could possibly see ownership coming in on a team that just doesn't have a great team total. So yeah, maybe not the answer you expected from me with the Michkov's donkey slam. I'm a little worried about it, I guess, is all I can say. We don't really get much other interesting options as far as like Tippett, Drysdale, Frost are all just kind of meh for various reasons. In like, I don't know, are you clicking Ristolainen for 25 minutes of just nothing at 2,700? I don't know. So you can one-off Michkov. I would just much rather one-off Cutter, for instance, and we'll get to that for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Drysdale did see actually 25 minutes, that power play one, couple shots, couple blocks, no points. But like without Cam York, which he did go to the IR, but we're expecting that to be weeks and not months. He does get a little bit of a boost at 44 at 4K. Sanheim, of course, though, but without the power play role, had a 30 burger against Montreal with 3 points, 2 goals. Everyone knew that was going to happen. So I don't know. It feels like there's something here. Like I don't think Boston's very good. It's cheap. There's a way to do it. I just, again, I kind of agree with you that I don't think it's going to be sneaky at all, even though I kind of was, well, it's a big underdog on the road in Boston, low total. People are still jamming it because it's cheap and the production's really been there with Michkov. As a couple of really smart people may have pointed out before the season started, that could happen. But I think I'm just going to full stay away from this game.
Yeah, the price just sort of matches that now, so you're chasing upside, but you're not really chasing like, when we were playing line one of Frost, Tippett, and Michkov like a week and a half ago or whatever, they were like 2,000 less than the top line is now. And Couturier is not power play one. Tippett, I think, is a better permanent player than Konechny. So like, and Frost, on the fourth line, it's just a no-go. So we'll see what happens. Torts is tortsing, and the lines are a mess. But yeah, on the Boston front, it's really hard to say anything bad about the first line. Perfectly correlated power play one stack. They get a Philly team that, they brought in Kolosov. To his credit, Torts said that he liked the play from their goalies, and I don't know how much to buy that because, he sometimes says the goalies sucked, and like, other times he just sort of says, yeah, they're good, even though when they're terrible. So I'm not really sure what to make of the Philly goaltending situation. Defensively, they've been okay. I mean, they've not been great by any stretch, but it's perfectly okay. I'll see if I can get that chart up for us here. Yeah. Here's the Flyers defensive chart where I'm circling, where they've been pretty good all year, maybe ticked up a little bit the last couple of games. This is a rolling 5-game chart. But like, at 5-on-5, they're fine defensively. And Pastrnak is very, very good. So if you want to play the top line, I wouldn't blame you. There's a lot of narrative going around about Lindholm Pasta being terrible together. I don't know. I could see it working because it's the Flyers. It's perfectly correlated line one. And all these guys seem pretty fair for their current price tags.
Yeah, not a ton. There's a lot of cheaper options on this slate that I think help afford Pastrnak if that's where you're going. And I just don't really think you're playing David Pastrnak without Lindholm or Zacha, however you want to look at it. Like, only 7 games. It just kind of feels like you're skating an incredibly tight rope for 2 guys that just seem underpriced to me for the role. So I think I'm either all the way in or all the way out, and I just don't know right now. Like, I'm going to probably test the waters on playing Pastrnak because I do think he is he just obviously is one of the highest upside players on the slate. Like, when you go to center and you see the highest 2 centers are for price are Crosby and Kopitar, kind of makes me think that maybe you could punt there and maybe you could spend up at wing. And I know I put Crosby on the cover here, but I'm not saying he's the best player in the world by any stretch. Just wanted
there's a very good reason for that, and we'll get to that when we get to Pittsburgh. But McAvoy's weird. I don't know, especially if Boston's chalky. Like, he's just like I don't know. I feel like he should be better than he has been, but like he's just not doing it. The expected fantasy points
Yeah,
takes into account block shots, so it's not even like he's getting there via blocks or anything. Like he just kind of sucks, and like there's
I
no
don't get it,
reason
man.
that. What's that?
I really just don't get it. It kind of felt like going into
Yeah,
this year, a lot of people were like, was he maybe
I,
hurt? And like maybe he could be
dude,
like Mackenzie Weegar, and like he's just
I was
doesn't do anything. Like I don't know.
I was one of those guys. I mean,
Yeah,
let me check my best ball exposure, but like he was going in like a decent spot. Yeah, I have 7% McAvoy going at pick 110. Like he was right there with like Brandon Montour and Sergachev, who have just
it just felt
absolutely
like
lapped the
he
field with him.
was going to have to do stuff, and he's getting the minutes, and he's just he has what, like a one blocks bonus.
Yeah.
He has
So
no game over 3 shots on goal, multiple zeros. Again, he hasn't hit a true zero yet, but like
yeah.
only has 3 points. It's just like I don't get how he's not more involved in this offense, especially when there's. I mean, it's just him and Hampus Lindholm, and Hampus Lindholm has been, I guess, like maybe better. It just has been, I guess, and like that's
Yeah.
sad. Mason Lowry just doesn't get. I mean, Mason Lowry can play one game and have 2 points, and then sit for 2 games. Like
Yes.
there's no rhyme or reason. So like,
Literally all of Lowry, Lindholm, and Carlo have been better than
yeah,
McAvoy on a per game basis this year. And like the expecteds are close between all of them, and the actuals are too. But like McAvoy's just not worth 5,600. So congratulations in advance. No matter whether you get the Zacho, Lindholm, Pasternak right, whether you go McAvoy or not, will break your slate. And yes, it will be broken regardless of which way you go. He'll get 10 if you. He'll get 15 if you don't play him. He'll get 0 if you do. So let's get over to Seattle and Montreal.
oh, do we have to? It's a 6 over under, as I basically alluded to. Most of these games would be Seattle minus 148 road favorites to the plus 124 Montreal Canadiens. I don't know why I keep thinking like Montreal's better than they are. I don't. Maybe it's just like when
Yeah.
I watch them, they actually look good because one of their lines is really good. I mean, they're 4-4-1.
Well,
It's not like they've been. Every team's 4-4-1 in the Atlantic. It's just
yeah.
like I don't know why. I just think they're actually kind of good.
I don't know where
Let's
you get that idea from because
I don't know either. They're not, but
they
they're
are a
really bad defensively. I think that's the
complete mess
I
defensively.
think that's it, is that when I
Um,
watch their games, I'm just having a ton of fun because the other team is just taking them back behind the woodshed and just doing whatever, like just
yeah, and
beating them
then
down. Like
they're
and then
so
Caulfield
tired.
scores.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're so tired for all the offense that then Caulfield comes on the ice and is like, "Hey guys, I'm going to score now." Yeah, I
And he
saw his
does.
shot rate. I want to say his shot rate the last couple of years is like 21 or something, and right now it's per 60, and it's like 16 right now. Yet he's still at like a goal per game or something like that. So, certainly running a little bit hot on the percentages, but I of course understand the appeal of Cole Caulfield in any matchup. I will just say that the top line for Seattle does look like they're actually top lining. Matty Beniers, you see that
Yep.
8.8 expected fantasy points per game. That's a far cry from what he did last year. So he's gotten better in that respect. They should be perfectly power play correlated too. So yeah, McCann, Beniers, Eberle, I think makes sense. Keep an eye out because they lost to Carolina last time out. I didn't see a practice for them. From Sunday or Monday, but they very well could, change that up. I'm just not projecting it at this point. Um, Otherwise, I have no interest down the lineup. Like Chandler Stevenson is terrible. Shane Wright's terrible. Like these guys who are like, oh, maybe there's a chance that they elevate. No, they're just not doing anything for fantasies. So I'm not really interested in like mini stacking anything here. And just would rather full stack the top line because Jared McCann is actually awesome. I mean, he's doing things that I'm not sure anyone expected a Seattle Kraken player to do. And he's, there's only one way to go for his ice time, and that's up. And so hopefully they figure that out sooner than later because, I mean, it's the story of
Yep.
Seattle, but like maybe it's going to be different. I don't know. But even with limited ice time, he's been very good.
We hope that under a new coach that they might actually be minorly interesting, and
Yeah.
they just not really doing it. But I mean it. But and what happens is they just play Chandler Stevenson for like 22 minutes and he has one shot on goal, and everyone's just like, huh, that's not working. If you pull up the slate on the year and you say, let's just sort by who is shooting the puck the most for all the different players, it goes Panarin, Pasternak, Tippett, and then Brandon Montour continues to just do the Brandon Montour that we know and love. 7.22 shot attempts per game, McCann 5. No one else cracks 4. So it's like a lot of production through 2 players. I think it's doable to just 2-man that, but it's kind of hard to leave off Matty Beniers, in my opinion, just because if McCann gets there, even on this size of a slate, like I said McCann, right? Yeah, if McCann gets there or Montour, it's like Beniers has to be coming along for at least a point or two. And at 4,200, that's probably enough. So
that's exactly
Everly's fine too. It's just kind of like, yeah, but like if you want to do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. I get it. But I think it's fine. It's probably the way I put it.
Yeah, that the one thing with Jamie Alexiak, his minutes were oddly low last game, and I look at the shift chart, and he took his last shift with like 7 minutes to go. It was on the PK, so maybe he like blocked a shot or something. They're also trailing. Maybe he just didn't see the ice because of that. But I find it strange that like Adam Larson got a shift and Mahura and Borgen did, and obviously Montour got 2 shifts in closing time too. So like there might be an injury there. I'm not positive, but yeah, just keep an eye out for that because obviously whoever plays with Montour is probably going to get a ton of run, be it Riker or Mahura, and they would be fine from a punt perspective. And if not, Alexiak's fine too at 3,300. Just he gets the job done for you. On the Montreal front, I think you can look at this Anderson, Evans, Gallagher line for a nice one-off. They're sort of being referred to as the identity line. Especially Anderson, Gallagher, they have a long history of being very annoyingly useful fantasy players, and they're 3K and 3,400. If they get 16 minutes in this spot, I can't find the heart to say it's a bad play. But otherwise, it's just the top line. And Caulfield, Suzuki, and Doc to really stand out, and nothing else is all that interesting. So anything to add there?
Yeah. I mean, I think you've mentioned Oliver Kapanen. He kind of looks like a player. It's just might take a little more time and might take a little bit more than 10 minutes. But he's been like you watch him and he looks explosive. But I think if you look at this, just take out this top line at Montreal, and in reality, really, you could look at their entire defensive core, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you just see why they're getting bullied so bad on the other end. So I think I'm going to be looking really hard at Seattle. I'm probably going to end up with that 3-man stack I mentioned. It's probably going to be in my top, but like, I don't know. I could definitely see going the other way here at home. Just it's not that expensive. Cole Caulfield 7,700 is getting pricey, especially because, as you're saying, like his shooting percentage is. I actually probably just find it right now. It's got to be 4,000. I think it's exactly 100%. Like but I mean, it's not like he doesn't have that ability in him. Like, I mean, is he outperforming his fantasy expectation? Yeah. Is he shooting 30%? Literally, yes. Is that going to last forever? No. But I think it's also a product of the parts. Like he's with Suzuki and Doc, who are 2 good players. So it makes some level of sense to me.
All right. Keep it going into St. Louis and Ottawa. St. Louis, they trying to remember. I believe they practiced today, and I found an article that didn't explicitly quote the lines, but because Matthew Joseph got hurt, Kasperi Kapanen and Bolduc slotted into the third line with Holloway. Basically, I think it was Holloway, Bolduc, Joseph last game. Kapanen was a scratch. So that made me think the rest of the lineup was staying the same. Who knows if that's actually the case or not, but that's the best I could find. I got to say, I'm pretty okay going back to the St. Louis well. I went there on Saturday night and got burned against Montreal. But this Ottawa team does not scare me. And getting Kyrou for 7,100 at like sub 5% sounds pretty nice. Braden Shen's been actively good. Like he's been, shooting and doing stuff that you like. Jake Neighbors is far too cheap for a quote unquote top 6 power play 1 type role. And then Brandon Saad is good too for the salary. Like I have no problem with any of those 4. You could also talk me into Buchnevich and Texey if you really wanted to. I have no problems there. But yeah, St. Louis 2, I think, is especially interesting to me. It just as like they're 11K for 3 guys who I think are kind of good. And for 2 of whom are on the power play, with Braden Shen in particular being extremely unlucky so far this year to not have more fantasy production. So I think the Ottawa team is in a better spot, like generally speaking, but with price considered, I think St. Louis 2 is where my interest is here.
Yeah, it's God. I mean, I really find it difficult to put like both these are two teams that I feel like I have the hardest time with, like trying to figure out exactly how I want to play. Last slate, it was that was the game I watched a lot of actually. St. Louis lost to Montreal, and Braden Shen had like it seemed like 100 grade A chances. Like I actually think that Neighbors is a really good player. He did score in that game, and like I can see that being actually a decently cheap stack to look into. Justin Falk still relevant
Yep.
enough. I think this is just a good team. And like I said, we get to start the year. I'm like, I just don't understand why everybody's out on St. Louis completely. Like, I think they're better than most would think. And I love Cairo. I'm like, I like Cairo Busnevich situation too. I don't think it's going to get much ownership. And then the other side, it felt like the opposite feeling where every person was just once again rallying the troops to go right back into the Ottawa well and say that this is going to happen again. And I was like, yeah, I see where you're coming from in like a little bit of respect, but like, I don't know how good this team is going to be defensively. And if they got worse defensively than last year, that could be a big problem. Um, Other than Nick Jensen, I feel like everyone else on the and I guess Sanderson too has been a disappointment. It just now without Pinto, it kind of feels ugly. Uh, I don't know. I kind of like the St. Louis side a decent bit, especially because I just don't think it's going to get much ownership. And yeah, cash game goalie. I saw the question. I don't even know how to begin to answer that. I mean,
Um, there is no
that's,
such thing. It's a myth.
if
Yeah.
you think you've picked the right cash game goalie and you feel confident in it, it's a bad one.
Do you have a
Elvis versus
dartboard?
Lincolns. Elvis versus Lincolns is going to break the slate tonight, and then we're going to talk about who's a good game. I have no idea. Could be anyone
Yeah,
tomorrow.
no. We truly don't know. And
I
yeah, that's the reality of
I
it.
would yeah. I mean I'd say the best way to do it, and like you could just go to Puck Luck and look which goalie is projected for the most saves, and then like pick the one that's in a favorite.
Yeah.
It's probably
Um,
going to be I don't know Sorokin
I would
and shit. I
imagine
don't know.
in a true double up or something like that, finding a projection source and just playing the highest projected owned goalie is actually plus EV just because like if you fail, you're failing with the most of your friends because you're not going to win a cash game on your goalie. Like, I mean, you shouldn't plan to because that's just there's no way to control what the goalie does. So, Brian makes a point that is a good point, but also like that just feels like there's still no predicting whether that goalie's going to do well or not. It's not a predictable stat like in the NBA or with quarterbacks or with starting pitchers or whatever. Like they're super important, like those other positions. You just can't predict what they do on a single night. There's no way to. So yeah, a little bit of a divergence there, but getting back
But
to
yeah,
Ottawa, the top line toward the end of the Colorado game had Ridley Gregg with Kachuk and Stutzla. No clue if that sticks. Obviously, the Drew Norris Batherson line should stick as it is.
it's been good.
They've been super productive. They're still pretty cheap, so I would expect ownership to come in there for about 15K in aggregate. Jake Sanderson continues to produce. His price continues to climb. And Adam Gaudette got a promotion to the third line again based on last game's finish. So I could see that being of relevance. Obviously this needs to be controlled for the fact that he might play 4 minutes a night. I'm not positive, but so he doesn't have the expected per game numbers, but he's a player who historically has decent enough rates. He had that sort of profile coming into the league forever ago now. And so him playing his way onto a line 3 power play 2 role for the minimum, I think should be at least, considered. But obviously Ridley Gregg for 2,700, if he's on the top line, will get considerably more ownership. I'm just not sure that I care because he's just a guy for fantasy who like he makes the players around him better, but I don't think he does enough of it himself to really like, you should never feel bad about fading Ridley Gregg, for instance. If you're playing Kachuk, Stutzla, and Sanderson, and you think, well, I have to play Gregg because he's 2,700, you just don't. Like, there's,
Yep.
those 5 points might help you if he gets an assist, but the odds that he buries you are so slim that, like, I don't really think it matters if it doesn't fit your lineup. So, any additional thoughts on the Ottawa side of things?
I mean, Jake Sanderson's finally becoming like correctly priced as soon as as
Mhm.
like production dropped off a little bit. They're just like, let's price him up to 6,300 now that he hasn't gotten more than a 9 spot in the past few slates. But he's involved. Again, I just think that like the St. Louis side is going to see significantly less ownership.
I agree.
And I think that's where I'm going to go. But there's no problem. I mean, I go Norris, Batherson, Sanderson, and maybe you just throw Claude in that mix because it's so cheap. I think that's totally fine. I'm probably not going to spend all my cap on Brady the Chuck when I just think that I'd much rather play.
Thoughts on Thomas Chabot? Chabot has gone
Ugh.
over 10 DraftKings points in 6 of 8 games so far this year. Or sorry, he's gone over 9 in 6 of 8 games. Gone over 10 in 5 of 8.
Yeah, he's had a lot of blocks bonuses and he shoots. I mean, he's like he's a poor man's Mackenzie Weegar, except he's not the top power play. And I don't know. He's a player. You could throw him in. It's a smaller slate. I don't think it's an issue. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I'd honestly rather like truly punt down to Nick Jensen, who just continues to get run. Has just seemingly always found a propensity to get assists. So when he gets an assist and a blocks bonus at 2,700, you're like absolutely swimming. No power play run is disheartening, but like I think as far as punts are concerned, and people always are, I think looking for these defensive punts, he's definitely up there with the best on the slate. So
yeah,
I don't have a problem with him either.
Yeah, I certainly, I guess going back to St. Louis real quick, something that like, maybe not this year, but like in the past, we've gone like, oh, well, Perunovic is in the lineup. Now he's going to be scratched for Matthew Kessel in this one. So don't need to worry about that. But like, we go 2,500 and he's power play 2, like, he shoots a good amount. And then it's like, yeah, but he plays 12 minutes and is going to shoot twice. Like there's no bonus for that. So like, you're just needing something that's so unlikely versus when you pick a shitbag like Nick Jensen, who like, objectively is not great, but he's going to play 20 minutes. He's out there in defensive situations. He'll block some shots. You get a bonus for 3 blocks. So like that's a really important factor to consider, just where the sort of multipliers come in. It's just so much quicker for the defensive defensemen to really sort of ramp up their scoring. Like, yeah, they're probably not scoring 30, whereas in a alternate universe where Perunovic actually played 15 minutes, maybe he scored twice in a game sometime, and like that just can happen, but like he's not all that likely to get you 10, for example, and like Jensen is fairly likely to. So I think sort of profiling those defensive defensemen the way that like a Sissima does, if you watch his lineups, is definitely a good way to go about punting defense. So I like the Nick Jensen take by you. Anaheim and the Islanders, what do we have here?
Let's get hurt again. We're going right back to the Cutter Gauthier well for the umpteenth time. I really do think that like we're verging on like throwing my TV out the window territory when it comes to Cutter Gauthier, because like, I mean, he's been good. This. He's getting enough run and I think the funniest part about last game is when Cutter and McTavish were out there together, they didn't give up a 5-on-5 goal, and like Zegras, Leo Carlson, Fabry, and Terry just got absolutely crushed in all different circumstances. It's like, you have these really good players, and I just don't think Terry, I don't think he's that bad really, but like he just doesn't really do it for me. It's as if like they need to figure out that last guy in to make that line completely click, and they're trying everyone and no one's going to work. But like, man, like it's a little bit snake bit. It's a little bit of everything, but like the explosion game for Cutter Gauthier is coming. Will I be there for it or not?
The team was at 25% expected goals last game. McTavish and Cutter were at 55. Like, they actually played well together. I have no idea what Troy Terry was doing. That is very funny that he was somehow 4 goals against, even though he spent most of the time alongside those guys. But yeah, again, we don't know what the full line combinations are going to be, of course. I'm projecting them to say that they were to start last game. And you'll notice Gauthier, McTavish, Terry is a perfectly correlated power play 1 stack as well. Obviously, McTavish hasn't been great offensively to start the year, but he spent a couple games alongside literal 4th liners on the Anaheim Ducks because his coach said he was playing too skilled. And so, like, Cronin's a donkey. You got to take that into account. But getting a top line, top power play stack for this cheap against the freaking Islanders, like, I don't know how this isn't going to be 20% owned, and it just won't be. Like, Cutter Gauthier is really producing. It's super unfortunate that he hasn't scored. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, he hit a post on a beautiful feed on the power play from McTavish. It's just been that times a million, like every game for Cutter. But he's doing the right things to get himself in position to score, and the fantasy points will have to follow. Again, this is a guy who profiled incredibly in college. In the preseason, he mixed in a couple of monster shot games. Like he's going to do the thing where he gets us 20, 25, 30. And for 3,700, I think that makes him viable as a one-off. The stack makes a ton of sense. And yeah, I will be hard pressed to not have Anaheim Ducks in my lineup on Tuesday evening.
I mean, Zellweger saw 22 minutes last game. It just kind of feels, I don't know. Again, like no matter how big of a donkey their coach is, it feels like if you watch Zellweger with the puck, how would you not put him out there more? I just 3,100. He's shooting. He has a shots bonus in his mix. It's like there's realistic builds you could have with Zellweger and Jensen, and then like spend up everywhere else and grab like Zellweger plus Cutter, and like you could afford so much good stuff in your lineup. And like if you're playing cash games again, I think Cutter's a great cash game play. I don't know about Zellweger there, just because if they get the lead, he could end up finding the bench for no reason other than their coach is a donkey. But I just everything about this Anaheim team is kind of speaking to me, and they don't draw maybe the best matchup in the world. But we can get over there.
You just have to be on Twitter or in the Discord to see the news, because there's no guarantee that these lines stick, seeing as they lost like 6-2. But if the Cutter McTavish thing sticks, I think whoever their third winger is, that duo is going to be in play regardless. So yeah, the Islanders, they went back to normal power plays, which was nice. Sort of coming into a matchup with the Ducks, that's obviously going to be of high interest to a lot of people. So yeah, we have Dobson, Nelson, Palmieri, Horvat, Barzal as their power play one. I don't recall. Well, actually, I know how it goes, because Horvat was in the bumper, Barzal on the left, and Nelson on the right, with Dobson at the point and Palmieri net front. Just makes sense how you would deploy these players in a power play. Can't believe we need to give the coach props for just doing his job, but seems like they landed on the optimal solution for their power play. Just in time
exactly
for the Ducks.
what it was last year.
Yeah, who knew that would be the way to go
when it worked. Jesus Christ, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, where are you looking at in this game?
I mean, where am I looking at in this game? Sadly, it's going to be Anaheim, and I mean, it's just one of those things where you look at how good Sorokin's been. People aren't going to play Anaheim. Sorokin's been actually everything and then more, and people are going to look at how bad Anaheim's been, and they're just going to click on these Islanders. And I put Matt Barzal on the cover. He's right next to me here. The Islanders are cheap. They're easy to stack. Noah Dobson is doing the stuff that I was hoping he'd do a little bit earlier. I think a lot of people are going to go to this, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like Dobson, Horvat, Barzal, Dobson, Nelson, Palmieri, nothing wrong with it. Man, I'm going to lose money on this slate when I play Anaheim. That's how I feel.
That's how every slate goes. Looking very forward to it. I like the Islanders' second line. Siplikov is far more interesting to me than Holmstrom, and of course, I think Horvat and Barzal will just be overowned relative to Nelson Palmieri, when I just don't trust Holmstrom to be part of a viable 5-on-5 line. So Nelson, Palmieri, Siplikov, you get two guys on the top power play, just like the top line. You're paying I think you're paying 400 less. And they've been slightly more productive over the course of the year. So hopefully ownership doesn't follow that, but that's where I'm interested in. And I have no problem making a game stack. You might not need the full, like maybe if you play Dobson, you can use like a 4 and 3 type stack, but otherwise it's going to be really hard to fill all that salary just with how cheap Anaheim is. But I have no problem game stacking it and just hoping that this is the game that goes for, 10 power plays and maybe 8 goals or something. But let's get over to Minnesota at Pittsburgh. Starting things with Pittsburgh because they're far more interesting. Practice dropped an absolute nuclear bomb on us. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Ricard Raquel, top line. Looks like Brian Rust is injured. I didn't see a prognosis on the injury from last game, but those lines indicate that he's not playing. So, I guess keep an eye on it. I did not update the power plays properly, but yeah, we get perfectly correlated line one with Gino and Sid together. Cats and dogs becoming friends. DJ, what are your thoughts on this new Pittsburgh top line?
It's interesting. I mean, they're of course the narrative the other way. Marc-Andre Fleury is in net in Pittsburgh, so I mean they're getting shut out tomorrow. Marc-Andre Fleury is probably actually going to score. Maybe he's the cash game goalie. We didn't even think about it till now, but yeah, it really just feels like Pittsburgh hasn't been as bad as the media might want you to think.
Freaking media, man.
Yeah, could be their fault. Everyone seems to just be like they're old and they're bad and they suck now and they're never going to win again. I really like this Minnesota team too. Is kind of my problem here because I actually want to give them a look. It's just hard to actually click these buttons at these prices. Like Malkin is 7,200. Crosby is the most expensive center on the slate, and you get a nice savings in Rickard Rakell, but the guy is not. He's not what he used to be. He's certainly not the best player in the world. Carlson doesn't feel cheap enough. It just kind of feels like I'm not paying these prices against Minnesota, but like it's
I want to say
completely correlated. Like you're welcome to play it.
Here, let me get my organic.
Kind of feels like you just draft like if you love this tomorrow, just draft it on Underdog. It's going to be free. You could take.
I want to get my organic Wookiee plug in here because I've mentioned him several times, but haven't actually plugged him on the pod or the YouTube. But for Pittsburgh, they're 5-on-5. Obviously these lines are just batty now because the new lines, but like literally their defense has been perfectly fine for like every line but the Crosby line. And that's sort of where their defensive struggles are most apparent, of course. And now, obviously, again, this is from before the Vancouver game. This might not even include the debacle of an Edmonton game from Wookiee. But like, I guess before I get to the plugging what we're actually talking about, this is Wookiee, NHL Wookiee on Twitter. He runs a Discord where he posts like a bunch of stuff. This is just one of the several things he posts every single day. There's, I think, a small fee to be a part of it. It's like $5 or $10, easily the best $5 or $10 you'll spend. If you don't want to do all the research yourself and be an absolute sicko, he'll do it all for you. It's super easy to use, very clean, and several more charts just like this. So you'll see him in the MSP Discord if you want to, pop any questions, or you can find him on Twitter and go that way. So NHL WOOKIEE. That's Wookiee's Twitter handle. And yeah, just wanted to plug in because he does awesome work. He's a great member of our little community here. And thank you, Wookiee, for just letting us use your stuff on a daily basis. Where I was going with that though is like Sidney Crosby's in a mess defensively, but Malkin's actually been pretty good. So like I'm wondering if this top line actually fixes things defensively because Hayes, Puljujärvi, Beauvillier, they're not going to be good, but they're also not out there to score. And then obviously Glass, Bunting, Puustinen, and O'Connor, Eller, or Chari don't seem like lines that should be getting run over defensively if they haven't been to start the year. So like maybe Minnesota becomes a little bit overowned. But I don't know. Like, yeah, the narrative is just kind of baffling because like if I want to say before the weekend, they turned 54% of the expected goals into like 41% of the actual goals. And they sent Tristan Jarry to the AHL as a result. Like, I mean, this was a bomb on Tristan Jarry, who's like their number one starting goalie without a doubt. They're just like, yeah, go play in the AHL. And so like they know what their problem was. And yes, you could say that Erik Karlsson's the problem or Chris Letang's old and washed, but like it just feels like a percentages thing where like, before these two games where they just got run over in Western Canada, like they were okay. And like they were just getting goalied and then they just got torched for 2 nights in a row. So like maybe they come out hair on fire. I don't know, but certainly interesting. And I just think there's more reasons to maybe buy Pittsburgh than there are to like completely fade them at this point when the field seems like they're just completely fading Pittsburgh. And, they might donkey their ways into a Kirill Kaprizov stack, which not bad. He's been unbelievable as expected to start the year, 9,000. his expected fantasy point output is somehow outproducing his monstrous actual fantasy output, which, I mean, just preposterous. When a dude's averaging 17 DK points a night, and you're like, yeah, he's actually getting unlucky. But that's what happens when you have 15 points in 8 games, and only 4 of those are goals, and I think 10 of them are primary assists. Like, he's just been on fire this season. So, where are you going on Minnesota? Yeah, 8 primary assists.
I mean, no, Kirill Kaprizov continues to be a top 5 player in the world. Not to my surprise, not to your surprise. I would say that you banged the drum even harder than me in the offseason for Kirill Kaprizov.
I mean, far be it for me to suggest we should take him over Brady Tkachuk.
Listen, you were brave, you were bold. It's seemingly paying off right now. I mean, Brady's been good too. He has 10 points in 8 games and like a million shots, but he does not have Kirill Kaprizov numbers. That's for sure. I just, there's a real path here to like, you could play Kaprizov and Pastrnak tomorrow. That's kind of what I keep thinking about. The issue, of course, is that like Zuccarello's been incredibly good for the price, and not a lot, but like, I'm going to guess all 4 of his goals have been directly because of Kaprizov. He's getting a ton of run and he's a fine player. So it's like, it feels like there's clear stackable options here. I just don't know how I'm doing it with Minnesota, because I do think, you said it. So, I mean, you said it already, but like Pittsburgh's biggest problem was in net. And now that I don't know if that's going to be as big of a concern, do I want to bet against Pittsburgh in a game where I do think ownership is going to be on Kaprizov? I don't know. This might be an exception to that, where I just say I don't really even care about the ownership, because I truly think this is like the best play on the slate.
Okay. I can't really fault that. Like, he's been unbelievable. Just we'll say again, do not play Brock Faber. It's just don't do it. Even when Minnesota's chalk, don't play Faber. He's terrible for fantasy. And like, yeah, he's a good real life player. He'll drive results for his teammates. But guess what? That makes it more likely that Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Eriksson, and Boldy are relevant for fantasy. So like, take that and just run. I prefer Kaprizov of Zuccarello, but I understand power play stacking like a Kaprizov, Boldy, or even Eriksson just to get a center spot filled. But yeah, definitely building around Kaprizov, and not much interest in the depth. Even though they're all 2,500, you're just not finding much ice time or relevance from a fantasy perspective. All right, 2 more games. Rangers at Washington. Rangers are the same thing they've been for a couple weeks, feels like. Panarin's been very good. Trocheck is sort of riding the wave, and then Kreider to Benejad are better than I think expected, but not like, crushingly so to the point where we're racing out to play them against a pretty solid Washington team. So any interest in the Rangers in this spot?
Not really. Honestly, I just think Washington is pretty legitimately good. They might not be great, but I think they're good enough to say that I don't think you'll flip over the cards and see Miko's advantage in my lineup once this year, maybe on a showdown slate if I hate myself or something, but it's Panarin or bust. And I just don't think I'm spending that price tag on him here in a matchup I don't love, when I just think I'd rather play Pastrnak or Kaprizov. And if he's third on that list, that doesn't bode well for him. So probably fading the Rangers. I do respect them quite a bit on the other side. So it's going to be hard for me to click on Washington, but I mean, what are your thoughts on the Rangers first? Is there anything here that you're keying in on?
The pricing is just too much on this second line. Lafreniere just doesn't get the offensive usage to really take his talent and make it into fantasy points. Like, you can stack it, sure, but like, I just don't like the matchup at all for the Rangers here.
I mean, you're going, I would just say like you're going all the way. Like if you're playing Panarin, you're playing Trocheck, you're playing Lafreniere, you're doing it all.
I do like K'Andre Miller as like a pivot to Adam Fox. Obviously, Adam Fox is going to get the power play production, but like K'Andre Miller actually I think is a double bonus candidate, and he plays on the top pair of Adam Fox now. So like if Adam Fox is doing his distributing thing, maybe K'Andre Miller scores a goal or something silly. But But yeah, I don't see myself playing Kreider, Zibanejad, Smith. But if it stays this much cheaper than Rangers 2, I think I'll be playing some Rangers 1 eventually. Just again, not in this spot. And really, same deal goes with Washington. Like this game just doesn't feel exciting at all. So 6K Ovi is always going to stand out, but like, I don't know. I don't think you're paying 12K for Strome plus Ovi. I don't think you're crossing power play stacks to play Pierre-Luc Dubois, who somehow is 12.2 expected fantasy points per game, which like, I don't even know what stats he's accumulating to get to that. Let's take a quick look here. Pierre-Luc Dubois in 7 games has 1 goal on 3.7 expected goals, and he has 3 primary assists. Yeah. I guess good for him. He has 3.7 expected goals. That's insane. So yeah, the Wookiee sheets will have a better visual of that. But
I feel like you're just playing a worse version of Shen, honestly,
that's a really good point. I like that.
I mean, it's not unplayable, but it's just like it's 4,400, and like I think you could just be better served on the other team with not playing Tom Wilson and playing Jake Neighbors, and then playing Shen over PLD.
I'm maybe 2 games away from calling this Connor McMichael's team. He just drips skill when he's on the ice. So I really, really like McMichael. Just again, not sure this slate is a spot to really dive into that. But if you're playing season-long fantasy or something and he's out there, I'm buying him because
got to lead
really
the team in points, right? I mean, he's got to be leading. He has 8 points in 7 games. Like I don't know what Strome has actually, but like he's been, Strome has 9, but he's been really good. It's just like, I don't know. You just got to find him a spot, man. Like, just take Tom Bolson off. It's just like, what is he doing for him at top unit? But
please,
fighting.
All right.
Final night.
Yeah, LA at San Jose. Just get San Jose out of the way. They're playing right now. Jack Thompson came out of the lineup. Will Smith also not playing, presumably because they want to play him on the second half of this back-to-back instead of the first half. So these will change a little bit. Guessing this top line might stay, but don't really care. Jake Wallman should stay top power play if Jack Thompson doesn't dress. But we'll see what they do in this game. And, I'll let the Discord know if that it winds up being Henry Thrun or something instead. But guessing Wallman's power play 1. And this team is utter garbage. So just don't really play them. You can play William Eklund if you want. He's been awesome, but don't really suggest stacking 16K Sharks in any situation, especially on a back-to-back against LA. So any thoughts on the Sharks?
16,000 Sharks is a lot of Sharks. No, I don't have any thoughts on that. They're just it's kind of one of those situations where you almost just start to feel bad because it really does feel like if they just had Celebrini going and maybe like 1 or 2 other guys, like I said, I don't think that, like I think the bones are there. It's just like when you have to play Granlund and Wenberg like 30 minutes, it's just like what are we doing? Like it's bad. That being said, they get a team that I like quite a bit, a team that's not all that expensive in LA. But I will again mention that Anze Kopitar is 7,500 and people are going to click on him. He has a point per game on the year. I think his upside is very low, although he's found a way to score goals, even only shooting the puck 9 times. So his shooting percentage is just like Cole Caulfield's, except he has 3 goals. That just to kind of, you could understand where I'm going. He has just as much potential to get you a 0 as he does to get you a 15. But it's, the stack of the night. Everyone's going to be on it. I just think I go another way. I don't know what that way is yet. Am I actually going to try to find the magic beans of Turcotte, Laferriere, and Vogel again? Am I going to play those magic beans? Am I going to try to just go with the power play? Am I going to play Clark? Am I going to? I don't know. Fiala, did he get hurt or something? He only played 10 minutes last game. He
got benched. Yeah, I was going to get to that. He got benched against the Utah. He took an ozone penalty. He might have taken 2 actually, and he just got flat out benched. So, their lines are probably staying like this. But Fiala didn't play the second half of the game, so who knows what we're going to see. Sorry, I was not showing LA. Byfield, Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala, Dino Moore, and Fogel, Turcotte, Laferriere. They wound up beating Utah, so like I don't think they're changing things dramatically. So I just think they're basically saying Jano, you're not playing with Fiala or with Moore and Dano. It's just going to be Fiala playing with him like it was before he got benched. So not really overly concerned there. Brant Clark is still very much in play at 4,600. I would probably just play LaFerriere and Fiala with it. Maybe Kempe instead of Fiala. But yeah, like you said, Kopitar is just way too expensive. I mean, kudos to DK for actually aggressively pricing teams against San Jose because we desperately need that. But yeah, you will not see me with a 3,400 Warren Fogle, who was, I think, 25% last time against the Sharks, and he scored twice in the first period. So yeah, I mean, obviously he could do that again, but like, I'm just not paying 25% ownership to find out. So I'll just take the actual good players with power play jobs who are going to be popular if I touch this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits into. I think the way that I'm gonna try to construct a roster is there's so much value on this slate that can you play Pasternak plus Kaprizov plus maybe one piece around them, debating on who that is right now, and then there's there's Cutter plus McTavish, there's the Turcotte line, there's ways of kind of maybe playing the slate a little bit differently, but at some point I wonder if I'm building something that couldn't possibly win 20K. And on this slate, like I'm going to toy around with these ideas though, just try to figure out exactly how to do it. But I think there's a thread here that I'm trying to pull.
Yeah, something really weird from last game. Even though Fiala got benched, Turcotte played 14 minutes or 12 minutes. Fogle played 14 and LaFerriere played 14. So it wasn't like Fiala went away and like that second or that third line became the second line. It was just like, Tanner Jeannot and Trevor Lewis became second liners in rotation with one another. So it's not like that third line's going to get 18 minutes here.
No.
And that's a concern when ownership's going to follow.
Deneau had more minutes than anybody but Byfield, which is a testament to just how boring they wanted that game to be. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's possible.
Benching Kevin Fiala is a pretty good indication that you're trying to play boring hockey. So maybe,
actually, let's play
as your canary in the coal mine.
We haven't had any guessing games yet. Let's play guess those expected goals. What were the expected goals for Utah? What were the expected goals for LA?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I watched a good amount of this game. I'm gonna guess it was like 2.2 to 1.8. It was a really shitty game.
Well, LA was 1.8, so I'm going to say that you got that right, and Utah was 1.9.
Oh my god.
A little bit worse than you thought, but you were pretty on. And
yeah.
just again,
it was abysmal.
Edmonton scored twice. I'm sorry, I can't be reading this right. I didn't remember this game. This was Saturday night. I was late. I wasn't watching it all, but
wait, what? Edmonton scored twice? What the hell are you talking
Joel
about?
Edmondson.
Oh yes. He literally scored a net front goal on a rebound, and it was like, what the hell are you doing there, sir?
28.4.
He was the direct replacement for Kevin Fiala, actually.
That is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, great. Good. They're actually, remember like when all the players in the offseason were like, we're not running that offense anymore. We're not playing the trap. We're going to be fun. We're going to have a good time out there. We're going to be a fun team that scores goals. I bet you thought.
Survey says this is Corsi pace. LA Kings, incredibly boring. Who knew?
You do hate to see it. But
while we do top stacks, anything interesting on this chart to you as far as Corsi pace is concerned? I don't know. Team by team. Nashville is fun.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is fun, as we probably should have suspected.
Yeah.
Toronto being fun. Yeah, that's cool. And Winnipeg. Who knew that game would become a 7-goal shootout with the best players doing the best things?
Who would have ever thought that I would have stacked into one line point with the fucking Matthews line? Not me. That's your fucking Drew. Yeah, I'm gonna min cash. It's gonna be great. Gunther scored.
Yes.
Yeehaw. Okay.
Very good.
Top stacks, guaranteed goals. What do you got for a top stack?
I'm gonna go top stack St. Louis 2. Schenn, Saad, and Jake Neighbors.
He's a bold boy. He's a bold kid. I love it though. That's really making me think. It's making me think quite a lot. I think I'll go. Honestly, it's funny how like this is a small slate and it feels like garbage, but I actually like a lot of stacks here. I think I'll go with the Anaheim situation, just Zellweger with McTavish and Cutter.
Okay.
Because
I was gonna go the other side of that game, so
go right ahead.
let's
It's still available.
take
I have not taken it
yeah.
yet.
No, let's take Nelson, Palmieri, and Noah Dobson. I think those three are the top three players by my interest level in this spot with the new power play units. So yeah, you can play Siplikov if you really want to. But yeah, definitely locking in the 3-man against the Ducks. Per the advice of my therapist, who I've watched far too many Ducks games to not have a therapist.
Yeah, it's impressive, really. I don't know if there's one upward price stack that I like as much as anything else. So I might just like I like all those plays just fine and different. Like I just think that like you could kind of take little pieces of all of them, but I really do think at the end of the day, I think I'll end up with a Pasternak, Lindholm, and I might just throw Zaka in, even though I think he's truly terrible. I just might not need to, but I'll just for now, for the sake of completeness, say those three. But like you could play that, and then you could still just throw in a Kaprizov one-off and a cheap, I don't know, throw in Flurry, and you have 4,100 for a D spot. Like you get this perfectly correlated situation that feels really, really nice and neat. So yeah, I like that. Now is normally where we guarantee the goals. I'm going to write them down again. I basically go 2 for 4 every single night, and tonight will probably be no different. Last time we were, I believe, we were 2 for 4 last time as well. I had Ross Colton who scored and Svechnikov who didn't. He scored the following, I think 2 games in a row maybe, but at least one. And then you had J. Rob who scored, and then Leferrier had like 3 assists or something, but didn't score himself. So why don't we do the guaranteeing of goals now?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Jared McCann guaranteed goal. 6,100 against Montreal. That top line's going to do it for us. Now is the time. 18 minutes, Seattle won. It's coming. It's coming. Be the wave.
Be the change you want to see, Jared McCann.
Exactly.
I'll go Batherson. I do think
okay.
But I think Jared Batherson is their actual best goal scorer on their team.
That does check out.
I could either just take Mitchkov at the same price, or I could wait for you though if you have someone in mind.
I was going to go. Okay, you want Mitchkov? I'll go Rickard Rakell, 4K. Gets the beneficiary of both Malkin and Crosby passing to him. I can't imagine there's been too many players who at 5-5 have been able to say the same thing in their careers. So congratulations to Rakell for that. But yeah, I think Rakell is going to be the beneficiary of that in a great way. I say he lights the lamp here if a line 1 power play 1 job. So I'll take Rakell, and McCann, you will take Mitchkov and Batherson.
Correct.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna go to bed because I don't really feel that good.
Yes. Let's close it out. The low energy. Let's just not let this taper out. So thank you all for listening. Make sure to get in the MSP Discord. You can just DM us at Morningscape Pod. I am at Fake Moods. DJ is at DJ_Mitchell94. DJ has a Dub Club betting thing you can sign up for. That's just free text alerts or app alerts or email alerts. I think whatever you want to sign up for. Whenever he writes his betting slips for the day, or he tweets them too. So make sure you're following him there. And subscribe to my newsletter, moods.beehive.com, also linked in the description of the show, where I will I will preview some slates throughout the week. I think the last couple weeks I've done Fridays. That makes a lot of sense, just given we do a Tuesday, Thursday show. So we'll see. I think Friday I'll do it again, but just got to make sure the contests are worthwhile to actually have people click on it. But yeah, been really pleased with the reception I've gotten there. And when I find the time / motivation, I'll do some other stuff. I know I promised a hockey viz write up, for example, but there's other stuff on the newsletter too beyond just slate previews. If you just want some reading to do about fantasy hockey, there's only so many of us out there that do quality fantasy hockey work, if I may say so myself. So anything else you want to say, DJ?
No, we'll be back for a Thursday slate. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just keep doing what we're doing right now, and we will talk to everyone soon. And yeah, I don't know.
Go Dylan Gunther. Keep scoring those goals. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. From Doug, from DJ, and from myself, have a good Tuesday slate, everybody, and we will see you.